Hello, hello, Calligraphy friends. How's it going today? Today is a wonderful, sunny, beautiful day. It's like 15, like 1-5 degrees outside, which makes me very excited, very happy. Yes, very beautiful. I took a walk before my stream today, so I'm like just absorbing that vitamin D. It's good stuff. Makes me very happy. Sorry, my Twitch stream, my chat was not connecting on my phone, which is usually how I'm trying to do this now. Stream manager. There we go. Cool. Makes it easier. So when I'm looking down, I can see it and I don't have to keep whiplashing my neck. No, it's so nice outside today. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm hoping that spring might be on its way. Finally. So at least, even though we're stuck inside and I can't see anyone, at least the weather outside is nice and I can sit on my balcony and have like a tea in the morning or in the afternoon. I have my tea today also with my conure mug with the he sees you when you're eating, he knows when you have snacks, because Bruce won't be joining us for our stream today. My conure, he's my husband is home today, so he is in the office in the back. So if you hear screeching, he's not dying, he's just having a conniption. All right, cool. So today I'm continuing on with my lettering lyrics series on Mondays, which is I take lyrics from songs that I like, from bands that I like, and then I don't know, ink them, which is fun. I decided to start with Paramore since they're one of my favorite bands, and I'm starting from the beginning of their album, so like, I don't know when their first album came out, 2007? Oh, old. So we'll just spend a little nostalgic time thinking about skinny jeans, dark eyeliner, Vans shoes, and leather bracelets with metal studs, which I think is exactly the emo vibe of Paramore back then. Yeah, pretty sure. Anyway, so the song I'll be doing is Pressure, and if I wasn't gonna get DMCA'd like crazy, I would be playing Paramore right now, so you'll just have to imagine the songs playing in the background. Cool. Anyway, I'll switch cameras. And so before the stream, so I'm using a different paper this time. I'm using, I picked it up a couple days ago, probably. And it's a bit of a different dimension. The one I did last week was 12 by 18. This one's 14 by 17. So I decided to split, I think you can see the lines, it into two. So it's an 8.5 by 14 and 8.5 by 14. So I'll do part of the lyrics here and part of the lyrics here. And I already just marked the centers and stuff just to make my life a little easier. I also, I'm just going to fold my shorts. I also printed out the lyrics. It worked out really well last week. Actually, when I did it, I printed out in Palatino Linotype font at size 24. And it was pretty good, actually, at being like the right size for a 4mm X-height. So I just did it again, and I just marked the center, and I did some line breaks to see like how it would split properly per page. So yeah, I'll just get that started. I'll just be talking to myself while going through. Let's put that here for now. And I will tape down my guidelines. So these are guidelines I just made myself from, it's called Block Layer. If you like Google calligraphy guidelines, you'll find a bunch of places that have like guideline generators for writing and for type and stuff. This one I like. It's pretty fast, pretty easy to do. You can download them as a PDF in like horizontal in landscape or portrait mode, and then That's pretty much it. Don't have to worry about again. It's just done. I have a bunch of them. It's actually quite fun. There's a couple of them that I can do that are circular ones. I haven't used them in a while because I haven't had a reason to do a circular text, but maybe I should for one of them. Maybe one of the lyrics or something at some point in time it's gonna like require circular, like spirally ones, maybe. Who knows? I'll deal with that when it comes. I was initially going to try and do something like fun and watercolory for the lyrics today. However, I just didn't. I ran out of time because I've been trying to learn like how to do watercolors like for real, not just on my like iPad, like, and not just paint them digitally. I feel like it's probably a good skill to have. So I have been taking a watercolor flowers class, which has been super interesting. So I was hoping to maybe use it as like a background or something and just kind of go over it with black ink, but not today. Maybe next week. We'll see. All right, let me line this up. So I'm leaving some space up here as well, just because I'm gonna end up doing a title at some point, and I'd like it to have space. Also interested to see how this paper fares, because I don't think I've used this one before. It's just like a mixed media paper. Nothing too crazy. But it is easier to see through, excuse me, than the watercolor paper I used last week. That is for sure. Oh, and also, tiny Discord update. I finally had a chance to upload the worksheets or exemplars that I did last week for my lesson 8 for copperplate. It's uploaded in my Discord now, so you could go and look at it if you like. T. Alright, so just like I did last time, I'll zoom in a bit. I'm just going to do it lightly in pencil, just to get like an outline. I'm actually thinking I might want to do it in color this time too. I don't know what color yet though. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe like red or something. Something fun. I think specifically with these lyrics too, for the song, like I can't help but think of the lyrics, but I don't want to hum because I don't want to get in trouble, because I usually will upload these videos to YouTube afterwards, and YouTube is even worse than Twitch, so I don't want to tempt fate and like hum something and then get into like big trouble. Wondering like how much can you see? I'll put this camera on my pad. There you go. You can see the things. Welcome to How Transparent Can Erin Be with how she makes things. There we go. Cool. Yeah, that's better. Let's see. good I was at estimating where that center line is. And this is why nice. This is why I don't go in with ink first. It's always so much better for me to do this in pencil. Oh my god. There you go. It's actually not too bad. So I guess I'll do an update. So yeah, like I mentioned before, I've been trying to learn some watercolor stuff, which has been super interesting. I mean, like, other than like a tertiary understanding of like, because I usually use those types of paints as, I use them as ink. I don't use them as actual, like, to create stuff. And I have some good watercolors, but I use them because I make fun colors when it comes to like calligraphy ink. Because if you ever are doing, like, you have a lot more options when you use paint than you do when you use like actual ink in and of itself. Like, you like to go and buy, you can just buy paint, or like I use gouache most of the time, but I also have good watercolor. So now I'm just like, oh, I get to use this for the actual purpose of it, which is fun. But the thing that I need to remind myself all the time is watercolor isn't meant to be so opaque. But when I'm making ink, it does need to be kind of opaque. So like I have a very like heavy painting like hand, I guess. Ink hand? I don't know how to describe it, but like it's the I usually don't add enough water. So that's something that I noticed. And like it doesn't dry the same color that it is when I put it down either, which is interesting. Something to keep account of. I also just finished learning Madaras with Chin Long. That was a crazy class. Oh my god. First of all, she writes incredibly fast because Madaras is meant to be written very quickly, but oh good lord. It's like I need to have like 18 cups of coffee before I do the script. It's so crazy. And it's really hard to control unless like you have like the right nibs, and I don't have any of the ones that she recommends right now. So I'm trying to make do with what I have, but I think I'm gonna have to go to the art supply store that's the local one here to go and get, because she recommends the EF Principle, which I don't have any left of. And I don't have any more because the nib needs to be super flexible. So I don't have any left of my EF Principles. Like I just finished my last one. It doesn't work anymore. My Hunt 101s, they're also completely done. I might have one that might be okay, but with the amount of abuse that like you kind of have to, because you have to put a lot of pressure on them, it's gonna be finished like super soon. Brass Rose, I think I have maybe one, and it's almost completely done as well. I have a lot of Nico and Zebra G's, not useful for this particular script. And I have a lot of I have a lot of vintage nibs, but they're all really stiff. They're all really like, so it doesn't work properly for the script because it's supposed to be very like fluid, and we need a flexible like nib. Actually, I was practicing a bit before on my random watercolor like sheet that I was doing, so you can kind of see like it's meant to be really like thick, and it's meant to be really fast. And if your nib catches a lot, which is what mine was doing, it will splatter, and it's tough to control. So that flower is actually not too bad. I was pretty happy with that one. But yeah, like I think I need to go to the store and go get the proper tools. Because all I was doing while I was trying to work on it was getting frustrated because I was like, it's not working, but it's because I'm not using the correct tool for the job. So it's no one to blame but myself, really, at the end of the day. But that script is really interesting, though, because it's kind of like Spencerian, which is usually much more like it's more hairlines, like, versus copperplate, which is mostly what I do, which is but all the pressure and release and all the thins and thicks. Spencerian is more monoline, like, and when I say monoline, I mean like it's only about the thins most of the time and like very very sporadically placed thick lines and shading. But Mataraz is almost like Spencerian and copperplate had a baby. So like Spencerian, it's like Spencerian but with thicks, which is interesting. Thank God I've taken one Spencerian class, so I kind of understand the letter forms and like how the shapes are, because they're also different than copperplate. Because copperplate is very much about ovals, and Spencerian is it's almost more sharp. It's not quite sharp; it's still a bit rounded, but it's more like an almond shape. So you have like a round, and then it goes right back up again. Anyways, blah blah blah. But it was interesting, and it was such a challenge. So I'm gonna have to practice a lot. Maybe on one of my streams I'll get up enough courage to do that one. But she's such a funny teacher, though, I have to say. Like, Chin is great. Again, it's one of those like weird, like, I don't want to say like benefit of COVID, because like it's not really a benefit, but it's an odd silver lining for COVID, which is like all the opportunities to learn online. You know, people trying to still make a living, that kind of thing, and it's like, okay, online is the way to go. So like the fact that I can take classes with so many people has like been so great, but you know, I still wish Corona hadn't been a thing. But you know, like I said, silver lining is lots of opportunity to do a lot of online learning and continue like doing stuff. And I don't mean just you know, with calligraphy. I mean, there's just, in generally speaking, there's just a lot more online content that's out there that can be really helpful, so that's always fun. That's way too far over. It's funny because I was practicing Mataraz this morning. My hand wants to do the same because it's a different motion. My hand wants to do that now. I'm like, no, copperplate. Gotta do copperplate. And I feel like last time, that the font that I'm using works pretty well, I have to say. Am I crooked? I am crooked. Oh, I just noticed that. Alright, let me fix that. There we go. That's fine. I can fix that when I ink it. Again, this is why I go in with pencil first, so I can notice things and go like, oh yeah, totally, that's incorrect. That's fine. It's an easy enough fix. Try and speed up my pencil work. This one I'm going to have to move over after, because that's not going to be centered. That's also the benefit too. I'll make like little notes for myself, just like when I like essentially when I come down here, it needs to be more left. Do you see my hair? Okay, we're good. Because I knock into my iPad sometimes. So I apologize about that if the camera gets a little shaky because of that. No, that is way too close. It should be more this way. There we go. It's gonna be good. Oh yeah, that's better. Much better. And this would be here. Yeah. The letter W is always so hard to do because of like all the different changing in angles. It's kind of crazy. Like I said, you can totally hear Bruce in the background. He's not dying, I promise. My husband for sure just put him in his cage because he was probably biting his keys or something. I promise. It's nothing to be worried about. It's gonna be interesting when I ink this too. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you for confirming. Quite a lot of space in the bottom here. I think, how shall I do this? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and I know that there's 11 more lines. Because it ends up being, 22. So they do it the same. Actually, yeah, I'll line it up. Here, you know why? Okay, yeah, I just realized what I had done. It's because I wasn't taking into account maybe this part. Or maybe I'll make it. I'm just thinking like layout. I was like, oh, interesting. Yeah, because you hold on. Let me unzoom. It's a little high up here, considering how much empty space is down here. But that's already done. So how am I going to work this out? I have another this much on this side that I need to put. And there's going to be a title here. So essentially it's going to be really high. So if I then make it really like this, and have this be the baseline and have this be the same amount of space here, I can make it look like it was on purpose. Cool. It made sense in my head. I don't know. I don't think I explained that very well, but I think that made sense in my head. Because essentially I'm looking at this, and with this much space at the bottom. So how am I going to do that? I will measure how long this is, 4 inches. And then that will be where I'll start up here. Cool. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. So then I'm going to have empty space here, and I can probably add something. Maybe I'll add some illustration elements. That'll be fun. Okay, I'm at 4. All right. Let me just measure this guy. Yeah, all right, cool. So if I do it like this, and then like this, we should be good to go. What's Bob Ross say? There's no mistakes, there's only happy accidents. It works for calligraphy too. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right, I'll zoom this back in. And there's nothing left to show. I'm actually wondering what kind of color I want to do. I'm thinking red. It's also like a blue maybe. But I've done a lot of blue things these days. Maybe green. Maybe like gold. Although I don't have a lot of gold ink left. And it's a pain to get it shipped here. The one I like anyways. The one I'm most familiar with is Finetech. And it's it's not sold in stores. You always have to order it online, which is kind of a pain. There we go. Because sometimes you get hit with those delightful customs fees, which are a gigantic pain. As I'm writing this, I'm like remembering going to see them in concert, because Paramore was my very first concert that I ever went to in Montreal at Club Soda. I think I talked about this last week, but if anyone's from Montreal, you'll know Club Soda. I actually don't even know if they exist anymore, to be fair. Which would be really sad if they're not there anymore. But I mean, especially with COVID, even if they were there, like I don't know if they would still have survived all of this stuff that's happening right now. But I remember the tickets for them was something like $30. And it was in like, it's like small, it was a small venue. It was the first time I'd ever gone to a concert, and it was awesome. It was so good. It was like good and sweaty people. You know, when we used to see People, that was fun. I went with one of my best friends because she also loves Paramore. It was really fun. Like it was just a really good time. I was also young. I was also like the right age to go see concerts too. I would have been 18. I know it's kind of late to start going to concerts, but it was also like I was working on my own, making my own money, so I didn't have to like ask my mom like, hey mom, can I borrow like, you know, money to buy a concert ticket, and like also for a cab home and food and like all those other things. Like I was working for myself at that time, so I was able to be like, I bought a ticket for a concert, I'm gonna go see them, it's gonna be great. I love it. And it was great. I loved it. It was so much fun. So much so that I've gone to see them in concert, I think 4 times, possibly 5. But man, I really wish that there was something like, I wish COVID wasn't happening. Like, it's one of those things like when you're an adult and you're like, I have adult money, I can go do the things that I wanted to do when I was a kid and couldn't afford to. And then it's like, and then, you know, then you get adult responsibilities and all those things, and you can't necessarily always do those things anymore. And then now, like, a pandemic, and you're like, hey, no, I definitely can't do those things. That's alright. It'll come back at some point. I hope. Fingers crossed. As you can tell, I'm not really caring so much about the pencil stuff. It looks like complete garbage. Honestly, like for me, this is just more like a placement thing. Like an approximation. Yeah, so this is going to need to go probably starting here. So this will be more centered. And then we're on our last little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. 1, 3, 4, 5. Oh, perfect. So I'll have space here and space here with the title and stuff. And I'll just make something, I don't know, I'll make something at another point. Let me see as well. Just gonna switcheroo my playlist because I think I like this one a bit better. Yeah, it's a bit more chill. Yeah, sure. I just realized I didn't center the paper properly. I'm a little bit over, so it's making little notes to myself of like when I ink this, just to scooch it over like 2 millimeters as I'm going. You are better off without me. And then this is my last line. Yay! And then I can ink it. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Move my little camera. Alright, let me look at this thing without having the lines behind it. Yeah, I'll have to do some art or something. Some illustration to like even this out, but that's alright. Especially because this is only for me. I'm not doing this for someone else. I'm not that pressed about it being the most perfect thing you've ever seen in your whole life. This is kind of just an excuse for me to practice and keep up my skills. Now the big question is, what color ink do I want to use to ink this puppy? I have a lot of ink in my drawers over here, so I'm just taking a peek. Ooh, I'll answer your question in just a second. Because it's a good question, and I do get asked that. I think I'm gonna go for pink. You know why? Because I like pink. Pink is fun. So what do? Calligraphy, like you said. This is obvious. But during COVID, a lot less than what I used to do, let me tell you. But yeah, so there's a lot of jobs that have to do with weddings. Like envelope addressing and seating charts and return envelopes and place cards and anything, table numbers, anything you can like realistically write on. So that I engrave as well by hand. So like bridal party gifts, like flasks, like in metal. I can engrave, I can personalize them for them, or like wine bottles and all that kind of stuff. I have my samples are behind me. So that kind of stuff. I also work with brands as well. Obviously not right now because everything is closed, but like I'll have like a higher end brand will have me come in and do live calligraphy for their clients. Sometimes for cards, like a thank you card for them. Like I'll just go and I'll sit there for 4 hours and I'll like personalize cards for the clients who come in and buy something, or I'll personalize items that are bought. Like I've done like luggage tags, like leather luggage tags. I'll like personalize like initials for people on them, like while I sit there and that kind of stuff. Or teach, that kind of stuff. Can a calligrapher also be a font designer on the digital side? I mean, you could be if you wanted to. I don't have that type of background. I don't come from a like a digital designer side. I do more traditional art, so, but you can. I don't see why not. You just need to understand how to make them. I know some calligraphers who are coming from like digital design and then become calligraphers, and they also then will design and create wedding suites and all that type of thing. So, I mean, yeah. I hope that answers your question. This is also a very aggressive pink, by the way, which I feel like is appropriate for the time of Paramore. The thing with being a font designer, though, is that you also need to understand how to design those types of things, and like kerning and spacing and like having a deeper understanding on typography, which I have a tertiary understanding of typography, but I don't have a deep understanding of it the way that typographers do, and digital media people who actually do type design do, because that's like a whole other ball of wax. But I do understand scripts though, and some of them at least. Actually, there's a really fun book that I just got from this guy. His name is Christopher Hannes. He's an excellent calligrapher. He's been doing calligraphy, and you can still, in certain art schools, you can still study calligraphy as part of your full degree. So I just got this book in the mail. He did what's the word I'm looking for? He did a Kickstarter to write his book, which is like, it's not a little book. She's a big book. It's called Calligraphy and Lettering, which has a nice actual mix of calligraphy and lettering design, like fonts and how they work together. Because like things don't get created in a bubble, right? Things are influenced by other things. So, you'll start with, scripts and writing and penmanship and the golden age of penmanship. But then, you get a printing press, and like a lot of the ligatures and things that you do with scripts and calligraphy, you can't do on like a printing press. So a lot of those things get lost and they become very mechanical. But then it's now kind of swinging a little bit more to like a good mix of like, okay, now people are starting to be interested in doing things by hand instead of on a computer. But sometimes there's also people who are doing font designs who like love and they want to figure out how to do it. Anyways, there's a lot of information like in this book. It's a really good resource, and I'm happy that I got it. I still have to sit down and read it fully, but like just as a flip through, like there's a bunch of different stuff here, like some Roman caps and like all different kinds of stuff, right? Which is super fun. But yeah, the calligraphy being a full career, I also think it's dependent on where you live. I live in a big metropolitan city, so there are a lot of people who get married and want to have that type of extra thing. But if you're working like in small town, middle of America or middle of Canada, like I don't know how realistic it is to do it full time. Although technically as well, like, I mean, I could get hired from anyone in the world. I just would have to ship them like their paper products afterwards too. But so it just depends. But if you're looking for like more of a locally type of market thing, it is easier if you're living in a bigger town, in a bigger city. There's just a little bit less barriers involved. Oh yeah, something else too. Like I've also worked with some like local businesses doing just like chalkboard signs for like their menus and stuff, which is also fun. Because once you understand how to make stuff and how to like do this type of thing, you can use it on like, it's the same concept. You can use it with like a lot of different things, if that makes sense. But thanks for saying it's interesting. I think it's really quite fun too. It's unique because I think until I started doing it myself and like until I started learning, I had took classes about 5 years ago when I started, learning kind of vibe. I also didn't realize like you can do this full time. Like how? I don't understand. But my teacher, who is local here, she does very well. But she also does a lot of like wedding suites, and she'll like create them for couples. Like a lot of her business is done with weddings. All right, let's start with like some really aggressive pink. It's like the most aggressive pink ever. All right, let's zoom in. Let's hope this paper is good too, because it's a new paper. So I'm going to hope that it doesn't feather. All right. She's not bad. She's not bad. Yeah, pretty much. As long, yeah, the if people want like that, have that like luxury experience and whatever, I'll be fine. Essentially, as long as people have money to pay me to do this, I will be doing this. This will be great. So it's not a crude way of saying it. It's just very true. So yes, this pen is very cool. It is also super not necessary. I just like using it. It's from the Instagram is called MP Obliques. His name is Mustafa. He's a pen turner in, I believe, Turkey. And yeah, he makes a bunch of stuff. It's really fun, really cool. But don't let it fool you. You don't need this to you don't need fancy pen holders to do what I'm doing. I tend to use this guy a lot. which is just like a boring old black one. It costs about $14 versus this one, which is like a hand-turned one. But thank you for the compliment. And I'll, go check his stuff out on Instagram if you ever go on there. Non-native English, how would you name the tip piece of your pen? Oh, which tip? So I can give you the breakdown of what things are called. I don't mind. So this, where is here we go. This is a nib. This is a certain type of nib. This nib is I think it's a steno. Leonard, different nibs for different jobs. So this is a nib. It's a metal one. I have a bunch of different kinds and varying flexibilities for various jobs. So and the type of calligraphy that I do, by the way, is pointed pen, because this is pointed. And the style that I do most of the time is copperplate, which is kind of what I'm doing now. I also have my own little spin on things, but that's what I'm doing. This is a pen holder. This metal thing here is called a flange, and this one in particular can be adjusted because there's a little screw here. So, which means that it can tighten this way. Here we go. Depending on what type of nib goes in here. So you just have to, just goes in, and then generally speaking, the tip of the nib should line up more or less. If you're thinking this is a center point, it should line up more or less with the center of whatever pen holder you're using. Just to kind of keep it consistent. For how you hold things. And then so and then the nib, this has tines, and the way that it works is when you press down, the tines separate. So when you have ink here and you're separating the tines, in between the tines the ink will go, so the ink will be thicker. And then when the tines are together and you're going up, the line is thin. So that's generally speaking how that works. In German, you call this a Feder. Oh, cool. That makes total sense. Using quill pens. There's a lot of interesting calligraphers who do use quills still to this day, which is really fun. I have no idea how to cut those things because it takes like a specific set of skills that I don't have. I think it's goose feathers. I think that they use to make the quills themselves. It's very cool. It's actually not so hard. So I've also been teaching on Twitch every Thursday. I've been going through like lessons on like essentially basic calligraphy. Everything that I'm doing right now with this, you can use a pencil. It's the same concept. Hold on, I will show you. This is fun. I like teaching people things. Here. I'll just take a random pad of paper. Okay? There's nothing special about this paper, but I will show you. It feels like Friday almost. Yeah, it's only Monday. Okay, regular pencil. Nothing special about this pencil. It's just a regular pencil, okay? The basic concept of what I'm doing, here I'll do this so you have lines, is when you're going, I'll zoom in really close, okay? When you're going up and away, you're putting almost no pressure, so it's thin. And then when you're pulling towards yourself, you're putting pressure so the line is thick. So essentially it's thin, thick. It's hard, sorry, I'm watching myself on the screen, so I'll do it here this way so it's easier. So that's what happens. So you get your hairlines and you get your shades. And so once you can do that, you can do all the same shapes that I'm doing with the pen and the ink. You can imitate it with a pencil. So like if I want to do the word cat, okay? So you would go, oops, and then a little, actually it's easier on one side. Let me do that again. So you have your thin and you have your thick. So thin is going away and thick is when you're coming down and you're pressing. So I'm essentially imitating what a nib can do. I hope that that is helpful. It's easier to think of it that way too. And essentially too, the way that the letters are built, all the letters in the minuscule alphabet, so like the lowercase ones, are made up of 8 basic strokes. And in varying combinations, make your letters. So you have your entry stroke, you have a downstroke. So entry stroke is light, downstroke, just thick. You have an underturn, just thick, then thin. You have an overturn, which is thin, then thick. You have an ascender loop, which is thin and then goes down to being thick. You have a descender loop, which is thick and then turns up to be thin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see, 7 and 8. Da, 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 da. Oh yes, compound curve, which is like this, and an oval. So these 8, it looks weird when they're separate, but the letter A is usually the one because it's the beginning of the alphabet. You have an entry stroke, an oval, and then an underturn. So it's, this one's here, this one is here, and then this one is here. So there's your A. And that's kind of how it's made. Oh, very cool. Yeah, that would be super awesome. Yeah. I know nothing about Japanese writing, but yeah, consistency definitely is important for legibility, I would assume with them, definitely. But yeah, so this type of style is either, I mean, depending on, I'm going to use the same term for all of it, and I know there's slight differences, but for like most people it doesn't matter. So it's either copperplate, engrossers, or engraver's script. Like these are the more or less in the moment in time that we are right now. These terms are interchanged a lot. So anyways, these are your 8 basic strokes, and then so if you're watching me do what I'm doing right now, you'll see that I am essentially just repeating these strokes over and over again. So very cool though. Very cool studying Japanese. I speak French, but it's the same alphabet at least as English, so it's not as difficult. But I also speak French just because like I live in Montreal, so I kind of have to. When you live in Quebec. Whoever first wrote the alphabet had a personal flair. Yeah, a penchant for flair. Yeah. Just a lot of fun fluffiness there. I know very little about Japanese writing though, to be also very, very honest. I have some Japanese like writing tools, and I have some really fun like sumi ink. That's because Japanese like calligraphy is a big thing. So a lot of the tools that I get are Japanese in origin. Because of that, just us Westerners tend to take them and use them for our own stuff too. So I have actually, if you're interested, where is it? So I have this. These are Chinese ink sticks actually, or sumi, like, and Japanese ones are pretty much the same from my understanding. So you have, can we focus? There we go. So this essentially is a hard block of of ink that is kept, dry, and then you have to wet it to activate it with a little stone, which I have here. So essentially what you do is you add water to this guy up here, and then you take this and you rub it, and then because this is a very small grit, so as you're rubbing it, the ink will pool here, and then you can use the ink that's here for whatever calligraphy you're doing. Usually this is used for brush calligraphy, so generally speaking, like this is more for like Chinese or for Japanese calligraphy, but I like using this sometimes too because you have more control over the opacity of the black versus the inks that you get here in North America. Because if you, kind of like a watercolor, the more or less pigment you add, the more or less transparent the ink will be. So sometimes you don't want black, 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 right? Sometimes you kind of want it to be a bit gray. So yeah, kind of fun, kind of interesting. But yeah, these types of things are very cool. My husband actually went to Japan and got these for me. He had to go for business and he picked these up for me, and I was like, yay, I love you so much. You're the best husband ever. He also got me some really interesting inks and things as well from Japan that I also have. And I need to use them more, pretty much. Such thicker and thinner lines are origin in the German. And the Umlauts, yeah. When A is an A, yeah. Varial form of letters have the letter E in a form of two thin upward sloped lines followed by. Oh, that's very cool. I didn't know that. Huh. That's super cool. So I have I am 1/4 German. And I know how to say like Dankeschön and like Bitteschön and like the very basic, like Guten Tag, like the incredibly basic stuff. But my grandmother was German and my grandfather was Austrian. So I did hear it a lot when I was a kid, but I didn't learn it, unfortunately. When I tried learning it when I was older, I just didn't have the brain for it. So I think it's really cool. How fun. French and Afrikaans. Much language that use several negatives. Afrikaans is such a beautiful language. I used to work in Alberta, another province in Canada, and there was a guy that I worked with who was from South Africa, and Afrikaans was so interesting. He had such an interesting and unique accent that because you don't hear Afrikaans here very often at all, so it was super fun and interesting to listen to. Yeah, French. French is super interesting. Like I said, like I speak French because I'm in Quebec, but I make mistakes all the time because it's my second language, not my first. And I because now, especially with working from home, I don't have to deal with the public very much anymore. So it's harder for me to keep up my French. So it's easy to lose. I'm telling you. Very cool. Oh, why do you try and hide it? I think it's really, really cool. Oh, I am like way off camera. Sorry, guys. like I can only imitate it when I'm talking to the person who has the accent. I have an okay ear when it comes to kind of imitating it. Out of it like that, it's like I can't do it, so I won't try now. But I love the Afrikaans accent. It's so good. Oh, the same. Okay, fair enough. It's actually really interesting because I don't think that I have a very pronounced Canadian accent until like I'll re-listen to streams to make sure that my audio like works properly, and especially because I'll re-upload these things to YouTube, so I'll clip through essentially to make sure that like the exports correctly, and I'm like, oh, mostly it's kind of neutral except for when I go with my A's, like it goes like it's like right up in my nose. And I don't realize I'm doing it until like I hear myself. I'm like, I do sound like very Canadian, and I don't know how I feel about it. Because I used to run a store. I used to work retail for many years, and most people would ask me like, "Oh, like where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm from here," and they're like, "No." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm from here." Wow, you have like, you don't sound Canadian, or especially because I'm in Montreal, so like I also don't have a French accent. Like I'm English. Oh yeah, so it's interesting because the sorry thing, it's like a lot of Canadians say sorry, like it's a weird like it's so rounded. I say sorry, like it's an sound instead of an or sound. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. This oh sorry, like that is very Canadian, but it's more like outside of Quebec, I'd say. Quebec is weird. Montreal specifically is weird because we like it's almost like there is the our own accent that happens because we're surrounded by French, and we have a lot of American media being like blasted in our faces all the time. Your company is talking 50% English, but still. Oh, yeah. That's fair. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I couldn't tell, like, a German accent versus a Bavarian accent versus an Austrian accent. Like, I can't tell that. So I would assume it's something similar. I just know that I'm like, it's from that general part of the world, but I can't tell you exactly what's part of Germany or part of Austria or part of any, like, I can't pinpoint it. I just feel like, hey, this kind of sounds like how my grandma used to sound or like how my grandfather used to sound because he was the Austrian one. So oh, French in Quebec is different from the French they speak in France. So there is a difference. So where I used to work, I worked in a mall that was in the middle of downtown Montreal that connected to the train station. So I would get a lot of tourists, and a lot of them were from France. There is a very distinct accent difference between someone from France and someone from Quebec. Um, Very big. And it's so much so that it's sometimes, even though the words are the same and the sentences are the same, it takes me a while for my ear to get used to it, to understand exactly what they're talking about, because the accent is so different. So the accent is very different for sure. The French is also different. I'm not as good in French as my husband is francophone, as he is. the like, how political do I want to get with this? Technically, the French in Quebec, from my understanding and my history, is more traditional than the French from France, because Quebec has a lot of laws that have to do with like protecting the French language, and they don't like the anglicization of a lot of things, or they try not to. Whereas with French, they'll say like "je m'en vais au parking" or something. I can't do the French accent anymore, but like they'll use the word parking like as for parking lot, but they'll just throw a French accent on it. Whereas in Quebec they say stationnement, which is the proper French term for a parking lot. So there's je vais faire du shopping aujourd'hui. Like shopping is an English word, but that's how they will say like I'm gonna go shopping. Whereas in Quebec it's like je vais faire du magasinage. So I'm gonna go shopping because magasinage is the word for shopping in French. So there are certain things like that are differences. I hope no one from France watches this because I'm butchering their accent and I'm sure someone's gonna yell at me. But my husband is a better he'll have a better answer for that for sure. I don't know if he's still in the chat somewhere. Maybe he'll answer you guys. But yeah, there is a difference, and there is different words that they'll use for the same thing. Like like I said, because I grew up here, I'm much more used to the French from Quebec. So when I would get someone from France in the store and they would talk to me, I'd be like, give me a second, and my brain would have to catch up to what they're saying. But I also, actually, to be fair, I also think it depends on what part of Quebec you're talking about. Because the closer to the metropolitan areas, the accent for me is easier to pick up on, and I understand completely. But the farther out, the more, I don't know, country, I guess, the accent is, and it's more from the back of the throat. So it sounds almost like people are swallowing their words a little bit. So then I also, even though it's a Quebec accent, I have trouble going like, oh God, how do I don't understand what you're saying. And I would just apologize a lot and go like, I'm really sorry, I'm Anglophone and I don't understand you, so I'm so sorry. Or I ask them to slow down. It's gotten a lot better though since I've been with my husband, because he is Francophone and his family is fully French. So we've been together for 10 years now. My French is much better now than it was 10 years ago, let me tell you that. But not unlike you, Sleep Wizard, but I have a pretty heavy English accent when I speak French, and I would be so embarrassed by it. So when I first met my husband's family, I was so shy to talk to them because I was like, oh God, like I'm not very good at French right now, and like I'm worried that my accent's gonna be like so horrible. So the way that I got over that was I had to drink. Like after a beer or two, I was fine. I was like, oh, who cares? Oh, interesting. Cool. Yeah, I guess it would be the same-ish kind of concept then. Like different maybe I want to say lexicon. That's not the word I want to say. Dialect? No, not dialect. I guess just maybe a different pronunciation of how you guys say things. I wish my friend was here. My friend is oh, she studied oh my God, my brain just like went out of my brain. Just it's gone. like she studied like languages, but not like in a I'm learning languages, but just like the how things are placed in your mouth. And there's a word for that, and I just don't remember what it is now. So I'm sure she would have like a reason for that immediately. I just don't remember what. I'm gonna think about that now. I'm trying to remember what her degree's in now. Speech pathology. There we go. Speech path. So I'm sure that she would have explanations as to why that is. And like accents and how that works across like the globe and all that kind of thing. Oh, yeah. I I like I said, I had a friend who was Afrikaans, or he's South African, sorry, and spoke Afrikaans. Um, and when he spoke it, it sounded a little bit German, but I don't speak German. I just recognized like kind of the accent a little bit, so it was really interesting. So what you're saying. Oh, interesting. That's so interesting that you would use English in that too, because a lot of people in very, at least specifically in Montreal, excuse me, will use French and English interchangeably, especially if they're very very fluent and very bilingual. Um, so sometimes when I'm even though I'm really anglophone and I'm very very English, like there are certain words that I will only know in French, or I think of them first in French. So I have to be very conscious on stream that I don't accidentally say them just because I'm like, oh, right, my streams are usually like mostly people who speak English in the chat. So I don't want to accidentally like them go like, what'd she just say? What'd she just call me? Or something like that. That's so interesting that it happens. Oh, more Dutch than German. Okay, fair enough. It might be similar, I guess, than the way that Spanish sounds to me. If someone's really slow when they're speaking Spanish, I can kind of figure out what they're saying because it's a Latin language, not unlike French. So I can kind of like, oh, that kind of sounds similar. I can maybe figure that out. I wish I spoke more than just two, though. Like I said, when I was in so the way the school system works here is just because I'll in in Quebec specifically, and this is like unique to here. We have high school up to the 11th grade, and then after that, there's 2 years of what we call cégep. So it's kind of like pre-university. Um, which I thought was great. So essentially, like, you end school when you're about 17, and then from 17 to 19, you go to like a pre-university that you have a degree from, but you are much more independent. You still have it's not as much as a clear cut from high school to university. So in CEGEP, when I was there, you kind of pick like a major, I suppose. Like, I just did general social sciences. I didn't do anything all spectacular, but you can take extra classes. And I took one of my classes I tried to take was German, because I was like, oh, it would be really cool if I could speak to my grandmother in her native tongue, right? Because she spoke German and French, because she was born on the, like, near the border of France and Germany, and English. So I'm like, oh, it'd be really cool. And I have my great aunts who've now passed away. They're also in Germany, but they didn't speak any English. They only spoke French, but French. And anyways, it was like always hard to communicate with them. I'm like, that would be really cool. I was so bad at German. I actively tried to learn it. I really, really tried. And it was like I couldn't figure out how to make it work, even though English is based on German, I'm pretty sure, like back in the day. I just couldn't wrap my brain around it. So thank goodness I at least learned French when I was a kid. And even though I went to mostly English schools and stuff, like, I'm like, at least through exposure, like, I didn't lose it completely. And if I practice a lot, I'll bring it back. But I just don't have the brain for languages. It's so intense. Yes, French is really fun to listen to. Absolutely, I agree. It's the culture in Montreal, I find, is very like European-y, French-ish as well. Like, it's more, I mean, it's probably funny because it sounds like you're in Europe, but it's probably more European than I would think the rest of Canada. You know, I actually just did a post on Instagram today, which is like the face behind the account, or face behind the whatever thing, like, this morning. And I was actually was talking a little bit about, like, I live in Montreal, and it's really nice to be somewhere where there's lots of good food, good people, and it's not weird to have like a glass of wine or a beer at 2 p.m. where, like, in a lot of other places it's kind of crazy. And you're like, no, it's a nice day outside. Went on my balcony, I had a glass of beer, and then I went back in and I continued my work. And that's not odd here. And I feel like that's kind of more of a European vibe. But maybe I'm wrong. I've never been to Europe. It's on my bucket list of things to do. I'd love to be able to go, but now with the corona, flights, yeah, forget about it. Not right now anyways. Oh, interesting. Huh. I'm learning more in my stream today than I think I did in my class. To pour is it, okay, tell me if I'm pronouncing this right. Geisen? Or is it Jason? Is it guy, like a g? Like you would say for, what's a g word? Like got? Or is it a j, like giraffe? Because I want to go Geisen, but I'm not sure if that's right. Hey mocap, how's it going? G is in give. Okay, cool. So, and did I pronounce it somewhat correctly? And Gigosen? Doing well. I'm learning about German right now, which is delightful. Whilst writing Paramore lyrics. It's great and educational stream. Got or gotten. Ah. I feel like I need to keep, well, I'm going to be re-uploading this stream onto YouTube, so I will have this to refer back to. That's very cool. I think I might, do I still have it? I don't think I have it anymore. I used to have a Sprachens Deutsch book, like, behind me that was like, one day I will be able to look back at this and relearn how to speak German. But it just never happened. I don't think I have it anymore. I know how to say I love you. Ich liebe dich. I say it to my husband sometimes and he thinks it's cute. Because I'm adorable. But yeah. Geisen ist gegossen. From God of Garden. It feels a little bit like French, because French has like a gajillion tenses, which is also what would screw me up, and it still screws me up now. For like how to write things. I can't write emails in French to save my life. Thank God Google Translate exists, because I can't do it. It's pretty much impossible for me to stay in the right tense. And what's the worst for me in French is tu and vous. So, because in English, when I'm talking to you, I'm just talking to you. And that's it. There's the one word. In French, there's two ways to say you. It's tu and vous. Tu is the one that's like more like to your friend. Ça va-tu bien? Like, how are you doing? What's going on? And then vous is more for like my mother-in-law, or like a teacher, or someone who's older than you. It's a sign of respect. Because in English, there is no equivalency really, except for like thou. I always forget, so in the middle of a sentence, I'll switch back and forth with my tu and my vous. And I know it's not right, but I go by how something sounds. And a lot of times, like, vous just sounds like better. So I just automatically go and I don't think about it. I've gotten people get so annoyed with me who are like older than me, and they're like, no, you don't have to say vous to me all the time. I'm like, it just sounds nicer. They're like, no, because it makes them feel old. My mother-in-law, she's like, you can tu me, or like there's a way to say it in French, and I just can't think of it right now. But like, she's like, you can say tu to me. It's fine. You don't have to continuously say vous. It's okay, Erin. I'm like, okay, Suzanne. Okay. Soyez. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. In English, that doesn't exist. It maybe did back then, in the past. Like I said, I think with like thou, probably. Thou art, like very Shakespearean language. But yeah, like now, so it's just something I just don't think about. I just don't think about it anymore. Thanks, Scrapbook. Thanks for coming in with the save on that one. Du and si, yeah. Mm-hmm. Do. Actually, it wouldn't be du, be do, I think. I don't think it's said with the way the French do. I'm gonna try and hurry this up because I can't believe I only did 1, 2, 3, like 6 lines so far. My God. I always love hearing German though, to be honest. Like, I know the trope is like, it's such an angry sounding language, blah, blah, blah. I don't think so. I think that's just like what people say in the movies, but I always really like the sound of German. But I also think for me specifically, it reminds me of my grandmother, of my Omi. So for me, I'm just like, oh, this just, feels like schnitzel to me. Like, this is great. Okay, yeah. Fair. Yeah, it's because I was just speaking in French, so I threw the French accent, because in French, like, it would be du, so be rolling, but then it would be do. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. don't know if I'm gonna finish my all of my all of my words today, because I've already been streaming for over an hour and a half, and I don't even have one half of my page done yet. So I'm going to try and speed it up a little bit. My office is also getting very warm because it is a delightful 15 degrees today. But the sun is going down, and my office windows, you can see, like, my blinds are closed, but the sun is going down, like, right over there. So my office is getting quite warm. Do you, if you're still in the chat, I'm curious. Did you learn English in school, or did you learn it like outside of school, like on your own? Like, do they teach English in school? I'm always so curious how that works. Because here, if you were born here, and I say here, if you're born in Montreal or Quebec rather, before, I don't remember what year it was, and you went to English school, like people who are like in their like 50s and 60s, if they went to English school, your kids have the right to go to English school. But if you're born after a certain year, and sometime in the 70s, and you went to French school, or if you're an immigrant coming in from here, you have to go to French school. You don't have the choice of going to an English school. It's part of the whole, integrating people into the French culture and Quebec itself. And I know that is a unique thing to hear, which is fine. So, like, if me and my husband ever were to have kids, we would have the choice of sending them to English or French school, because I went to English school growing up, but he went to French school. But once you choose the French school option, then they lose the right for when they're older, and if they have kids, to send their kids to English school. It has to be French. English is mandatory as a second language. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that kind of feels like here, where you have to like learn, specifically, like I said, in Quebec anyways, you have to learn how to speak French. So even though I went to an English school, like, there are certain amounts of classes that had to be given. Like, it's probably something like 30 or 40% of my classes, even though I went to an English school, had to be given in French. But I guess learning English is, or learning any other language, honestly, regardless of being English or not, having a second language is nice. So I'm not so in love with the English language that it needs to be English all the time, but it's pretty cool. Actually, speaking of French, with something that's super interesting is actually to do with calligraphy. is in French, there are a lot of different, a lot more unique letter combinations that don't happen in English often. So there are certain letters that I'm not very good at doing because they don't happen in English very often. Like the letter X. The letter X isn't in English like almost at all. In French, it's there a lot. So that one, or the combinations of certain vowels as well, like A and E, same thing. Oh, what is the root of the term sabotage? I'm curious now. Oh, my words decided to go on a bit of an adventure. They are not straight anymore. That's all right though. Sabot is a wooden shoe. That's actually really funny. That's really funny. Oh my goodness. I have no fun word plays like that in my brain, but I think that is delightful. That's very fun. Thank you for sharing such a fun factoid with me. Sorry, I'm just trying to line up my paper properly this time. And I'm going to try and zoom through this so I'm finished both sides by the time I need to eat my dinner. I also think I'm going to do something that you're not supposed to do, and I think I'm going to change nibs because I was having some issues with my, I have like fun like Jimmy Neutron hair right now. I was having some issues with the ink being a bit too thick on my downstrokes, which I wasn't a big fan of. I like things being a little bit more fine and delicate looking, so I'm just going to do something I'm not supposed to do. I'm going to switch right in the middle of my thing. But again, like this is work that's for me, for myself, so if I want something to be a little bit different, it's okay. It doesn't really matter. Alright, we're going to see... I don't have a lot of other nibs with me right now that would be good for this purpose, so we're going to try. Alright, so we're going to keep our fingers crossed that this Hunt 101, so this one I've changed. This one was the one I was using, this guy. I'm going to switch it for this guy. And it is a bit more fine when I'm doing my upstrokes, but still really flexible when I'm doing down. But I find that it's a bit easier because I was finding it was getting a little clumpy on the other side. So let me switch to a different one. We're going to keep our fingers crossed that this works because I've been abusing this one for a few days. So I also am not on the correct, oh, I guess it's fine. Oh, that's much better. Much better. I never know how streamed in, how scooched in people want to see things. So you let me know if this is scooched in enough. Or if this is too scooched in, you're like, I don't need this much detail, girl. Back off. That's also fine. Yeah, I can work much faster with this one without worrying about it being gloopy. The one I was using before is called the blue, colloquially it's called a blue pumpkin. And I think for me it's better for larger X heights, like where I'm working right now. Whereas a Hunt 101, which is the one that I'm using right now, it works well for smaller X heights. The big ones too, but I think because it's can be used so finely, it works well for the tiny ones. And I wasn't paying attention to my little arrows before, so I'm just going to add a little fluffy flourish at the end of this to make it look a bit more even. Da, da, da. Am I doing artistic initial letters sometimes? Sometimes. I don't call them a drop cap, but that doesn't mean Wikipedia's wrong. That might be more of a font term versus a script term. But I have some really fun. Let me unzoom this. Sorry, I was turning the brightness down instead of unzooming. There. I have this book, which is a delightful reference book, which is called Decorative Alphabets and Initials. That has some wonderful wonderful examples. Very, very cool. Like, I don't know how to do broad edge. Well, sorry. This is more like Gothic that has a lot of fluff and flourishing, which is beautiful. I love this one. But like, I don't know how to do this quite yet. This is like a whole nother, there's so many scripts. But this is a simple style of Baroque Initial from the writing book of Paul Franke, 1655. I wouldn't be surprised if he was German, to be honest, because a lot of the like Gothic writing, I'm pretty sure started in Germany, to be honest. I don't necessarily know all my lettering history the way that I feel like I should. This one actually is one of my favorite alphabets in this whole book. I think it is so fun. I think it is so delightful. It's the alphabet tiré de la bibliothèque de l'Université de Bologne. So it's a butterfly script that Sylvester picked out of a library in Bologna, which I think is really, really fun. So this one I get is one of my faves. I really, really like this one. But a good reference book that I like is this guy, which is the Speedball Textbook, which on every page or so is different types of calligraphy scripts. Here we go, black letter. I'm pretty sure black letter is German, like based, and then Neuland by German calligrapher Rudolf Koch, or Koch. It's Koch is this guy, and he created this one. It's called Neuland, which is a fun script as well. So I recently learned how to do this one. This is a really fun one. I have this guy, which is also has ornamental initials, and probably is something that you were talking about too. So artistic initials. There's also like doing a lot of floral vintage type initials. There's one on my Instagram from a while ago. That's it. It's also up there and I just don't feel like getting it. Where you use like florals and stuff to like make your letters. It's like a vintage way of doing things. But there's like a lot of different cool things that people just pick from other books or whatnot. So always fun. What else do I have over here? Oh yeah, I have this one too. I have a lot of reference books. I think they're really good to have. So this is an ornamental alphabets of ancient and medieval ones. And in this one, I think as well, you'll notice, we're doing now a little history lesson, which is in a lot of alphabets I don't even know the year, there's no separate I and J. They used to be the same. So in a lot of these exemplars, there's only a J because they were the same. That's it. So it goes H-I-K because the I and the J were the same thing. I don't know if they were still called the same though. Like I don't know if it was an I and a J. But yeah, in a lot of these like old alphabets, I think it was the J that didn't exist. Maybe pre-14th century. Oh yeah, because here, H-I-K. Trying to see here. H-I-K. This is in 1475. Oh, German arabesque. There we go. So this has some like, it looks like acanthus leaves in there, which I think is kind of fun. Very cool. I use these as a lot of like as reference for myself, but also just as inspiration of like, oh, like what can I do? It's also what kind of makes me want to continue learning more scripts because like there's so many. There are so many. Thank you for coming with me that little learning tangent. I'll zoom back in. Sorry, totally forgot. You can hear my very upset bird in the background. Poor boy. Oof, my spacing is all over the place today. Yes, very cool. And it started with cuneiform, I believe, if memory serves correctly. There is also a series that recently came out with a very well-known and well-respected calligrapher actually doing it on Nova, which is like mostly like a learning type of thing. I don't know if they have that where you are, but if you're interested in that type of thing, it's very cool. The calligrapher's name is Brody. Oh, I'm going to butcher his last name. Starts with an N. But it's a 2-part series that was on Nova that came out in 2020 that goes into the development of letter forms. Hold on. I think it on my computer somewhere. It's called A to Z. Nova A to Z. I'll actually drop it in the chat. Nova A to Z. Or A to Z, depending. It's worth taking a peek for if you can find it somewhere. It's really, really interesting. But it kind of goes into the development of like the alphabet and how the tools informed the medium that you wrote on, like papyrus paper versus like vellum, like hide, like animal hide. Super interesting to me. Maybe not to everyone, but to me. But I don't pretend to be a historian, personally speaking. I know a little bit about a lot of stuff. Irving Finkel. I've never heard of him before. I love that. I'll look him up after. There's another expert in, not in cuneiform, but in just calligraphy in general. And his name is now escaping me. He wrote the book The Golden Thread, and now I'm going to look it up. Hold on a second. There's The Golden Thread. Crap. Golden letter. Oh my god. What is it now? My brain. Hold on. I have it in ebook format. I just haven't read it yet. You by Ewan Clayton. There we go. Yes. And the book is called The Golden Thread. It came out in 2013. Voila. Irving Finkel. Copy. I'm going to look this up right now. His beard. His beard is everything. Wow. He kind of looks like Dumbledore. Oh my god. I love it. Amazing. Here, Ewan Clayton. That's the other guy, the one I was talking about. I've met him a couple years ago. He is an incredible storyteller as well. Incredible. He's so animated. It's so funny. I love it. But that beard from that man. Wow. Amazing. If you're ever interested in other calligraphy content of people streaming online, there's another calligrapher who streams. He just doesn't do it on Twitch. He does it on YouTube. And it's Mr. MG Ward. And he is, I feel like, a much better historian than I am, for sure. And he specializes in a different hand than mine, which is, like I said, which is a copperplate. He's also been doing it for longer than me, so he's just better than I am. But with him, you'd glean a lot of interesting information too. I believe he streams Wednesdays. I believe it's Wednesday nights. glad you stumbled in on me. I haven't been streaming for super long, so I'm always just happy when I have like one person who, at least one person chatting with me. I can also just talk by myself. It's also fine. Like you don't, you can feel people can lurk all they like. I also don't mind. I can usually keep myself entertained. So I appreciate you coming by. I appreciate you finding me. I do find the art streams are so interesting though. You find some really cool stuff. There's one that I saw the other day that I follow. I draw burbs, and they draw and they paint birds all over the place. It's very funny. They're like very popular from what I've seen. Because until COVID, like I didn't really look at Twitch very much. Like I knew it existed. Because my husband watches certain streamers. But I didn't really realize that there was another aspect of Twitch that wasn't just gaming. Because I don't really game. I like it, it's fine. But I just don't, it's not something that I do anymore. Like I used to have like a PS1 when I was growing up and a Sega and like that kind of thing. But as I got older, I stopped playing. So I didn't think of Twitch as like another artistic outlet. And then COVID hit and my husband was like, you should take a look at their art stuff. I was like, they have art things on Twitch. All right. I look, I was like, oh, this is so cool. So I had to figure out like, okay, how should I stream? How do I want to stream? Is this something that's fun? Are people going to care? But I feel like it's been fun for me to kind of do it because it gives me an excuse to do what I like in a way that's like kind of no pressure, which is fun. And I get to meet fun people and chat, and it's a fun way to interact with people. I'm an extrovert, so like being home alone all the time is kind of like sometimes. So I enjoy the chatting stuff. Oh yeah, and like you said, like you really never know what you're gonna get in an art stream. You're like, you could get me doing calligraphy, or you can get someone making an enormous painting, and you're like, cool, sweet. But I don't think there's a couple people that I've looked to see if there's anyone who actually does do like calligraphy on Twitch, but I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen anyone really doing it. At least no one that I know of. There's a couple of people who do like bullet journaling and whatnot. So I'm like, am I the only one because this is a terrible idea to do on stream, or am I the only one because I'm the first one in? I don't know. It also doesn't really matter. Oh, very cool. That is very cool. Very cool. Do you know the username? That would be really cool. I'd like to see like what her replay like. I'd like to look into that. That'd be very. That's awesome. There are a couple of people that I know who are calligraphers, but they're also very big into like paper cutting and doing things like 3D, which I also think is awesome. There's a calligrapher I know, his name is Claudio. He's in Brazil. And his work, it's on my wall. It's there. Can you see it in... You can see it in this guy. The E that's back there is from him. And his is like very gestural and like very graffiti-like, and it's super cool. I would like love if he streamed. It would be so awesome. That's okay. I'm sure I'll find it somewhere. Be cool. But yeah, if Claudio ever streamed, I'd be like sick. Like that type of like full body movement, like it's not something that I do because I don't do that type of graffiti-esque type of calligraphy. Mine's more small scale, so maybe someday. I really enjoy seeing people do things that like I've never thought of or seen before. Because as much as I like Instagram, well, like Instagram, as much as I must be on Instagram because I own a business, it's hard to find new things. Oh no, I failed the pressure. Let me just tuck an E in there. It's fine. It's because I'm talking at the same time. Because the algorithm keeps feeding you the same thing that you've liked all the time. It's hard to find new stuff. So I find that Twitch is like one of the last places where you can kind of discover things. That and oddly enough, TikTok. Because you can filter, at least on Twitch, by like how you did, like by like least viewed or most popular, or like you can kind of look and see. You don't have the algorithm shoving something down your throat. So you can like go like, wow, I never saw this before. This is cool. How does this person make this thing? Like it's really fun. Sweet. Just massive acorns. I love that. That's so cool. There is someone on TikTok who is making a life-size version of if you ever watched the movie How to Train Your Dragon, the big dragon that's in that movie, someone is making a life-size version of this humongous dragon in their house, and they're just keeping track of it, and they upload their TikToks every, I don't know, a couple weeks when they get an update of something. I'm like, it is so cool. I didn't think that you could do that. I also don't sew. But yeah, with like things like where most people put their art on, and I'm speaking mostly of Instagram, it's hard to find new stuff now, just because like once you like something, it just wants to shove it down your throat, and you're like, cool, I like this, but I would like to see something else. Or even when you follow people because it's no longer in chronological order, it's really tough. Like it's really, really hard. So hence why I was just like, ugh, give me something else where I can be creative on. And my husband was literally like, you should stream. And I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to care. And he was like, you should stream anyways. And I was like, all right. Like, yes, sir. Got it. And, you know, as I'm learning, he is usually right. And I should just get used to that. But I only realize he's right usually after me going like, oh, I don't know, maybe. And then I'll come back to him like a person and be like, I should have listened to you in the first place. You're totally right. Absolutely, 100%. So I always make sure to tell him, I should just always listen to you. You're always correct. All right, we're coming on my last sentence. I'm going to try and do some flourishing, some fluffy flourishing. Let's see if I can get that. I wish that wouldn't have crossed, but yeah, it works. Oh, you stream too? Cool. You stream when you're writing? Do you take like prompts from people who are watching and chatting? Or like, how does that work? Da, 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 da. Oh, this is also now way too bright. Let's reduce the brightness here. There we go. Yay! So I will end up having to add something here. Oh, it bled a little there. That's all right though. And I'll put the title at some point. Oh, that's actually super interesting. I am not a writer. I'm a copier of writing, but I am not a writer, so I'm always like impressed as all hell that people can do that. Like, very cool. How long are your streams normally? Are they usually very long? Or like not long at all? Because like for me, like 2 hours is usually like the top end. Like where I am right now, it's like the top end. I usually don't go longer than that. That's super interesting. That's super intriguing. Like I hate even writing like blog posts. Like I just can't do it. It reminds me of writing papers when I was in university. Like I can't. It drives me crazy. But that's so cool. But I think for me, I'm gonna be done because for me it's 6 o'clock. An hour. Okay. Hey, you know what? That is very cool. That's very awesome. I love that you do that online. That's so cool. Like you're really showing the process. Very cool. But I think for me, I'm gonna go have some dinner. I'm gonna have some for me at 6 o'clock. So let me switch my cameras to be here. You can see my pile of my books that I was pulling from before. So, hey, thanks for coming out and hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for finding me. Really fun. So FYI, I stream every Monday and Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Mondays I've started doing my lettering lyrics. I'm going through Paramore right now, but you know, I mean, if there are some requests at some point in time, I do have a Discord. There's not a lot of people in there because I just like started it, but you know, it exists. And on Thursdays, which is also why I mentioned my Discord, is I teach how to do copperplate. And right now we're on the majuscule letters, and we'll be on class number 9. So 9 weeks. But every time, starting from a couple ago, I started uploading what I was doing on stream, uploading into Discord. So, I mean, if you want to go poke around in there, it's totally fine. And I threw some guidelines in there too. So if you want to follow along with what I'm doing, you absolutely can. But yeah, pretty cool. Like I said, so Mondays and Thursdays. Mondays is lettering lyrics, then Thursdays is me teaching ya. Thank you for following. Appreciate. So I might see ya on Thursday then. I'll be there with my teaching energy, which is very similar to this energy, to be fair. And I hope that you have a wonderful evening or morning, depending on what time it is where you are, and, you know, stay safe. Thanks a lot. Enjoy. Bye.